Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Ashley and this is Sincerely Sews. I want to tell you about this crochet bag I made and how I sewed a fabric lining for it. When I finished this bag, I was so excited to start using it, but I noticed that anything I put inside of it, like keys or my headphone cord, would poke out through the holes in the crochet. So to solve this problem, I added a fabric lining, and today I'm going to show you how I made that lining. I've been knitting for many years, but crochet is a new hobby for me. I learned how to make these sunflower granny squares from Michelle over at Fancy Dinosaur Tea Party. I'll leave a link to her channel down below. You should definitely check out her tutorial where she shows how to make a cardigan out of these sunflower granny squares, and the way that she explains how to make the granny squares is very easy to follow along with. So even though I'm a beginner at crochet, I was able to follow along with each step of her tutorial to make enough granny squares for a bag, and now I'm getting started on the cardigan as well. Today I'm not going to teach you how to make a granny square bag, but I will show you how I made a fabric liner. You can add a fabric lining to any kind of crochet or knit bag, and then you can put anything you want to inside. To do this lining project, all you need is a sewing machine and a little bit of hand sewing skills. You'll see me using my serger, but it's totally alright if you don't have your own serger. You can still do this project. So let's jump right in and I'll show you how I made a fabric liner for my crochet bag. Here's a brief overview of how I assembled my granny square bag. I took 13 squares and arranged them in this position and chain stitched them together. Then I took the whole piece and folded it in half with the wrong sides together like this. Then I continued using a chain stitch to seam up the rest of the bag. The granny squares on the side end up getting folded in half like this to form the sides. After the bag was assembled, I used double crochets to create a border around the top edge and for the handles as well. Here's what my bag looked like after I was finished crocheting it. I really love the look and feel of this bag, but it has one major fatal flaw. Almost anything I try to put inside of it is going to poke out through the holes of the crochet. To solve this problem, I added a fabric lining. Here's how I did it. I used quilting weight cotton in a color that matched the main color of my bag. I laid the bag down on the fabric and then grabbed a piece of tailor's chalk to trace around the bag. I traced all the way around the bag, including the top edge, skipping a little bit for where the handles are at. Then I moved the bag out of the way and trued up some of the lines that I just drew. I drew straight across where the handles go, since the lining will not be going up into the handles of the bag. After that, I grabbed a ruler and added 1/2 inch seam allowances all the way around. Then I cut along the second line that I drew. I'm using 2 layers of fabric, so I get 2 lining pieces. Here's what the shape of the lining pieces look like so far. I also marked the seam allowance at this V point around the top edge so that I can go back through and reinforce it later. I also wanted to include an interior pocket on this bag, so here you can see me drawing out a 6 inch by 7 inch rectangle that will form the pocket. Next, I serged around the edges of my pocket. If you don't have a serger, you could pink the edges or use a zigzag stitch. Then, press each edge of the pocket back about 1/4 inch. I folded one of the short edges of this pocket back a second time at 1 inch so that I could create a nice finished edge for the top of the pocket. I gave the pocket one more good press with the iron. Then I stitched across this top fold of the pocket. After that, I pinned the pocket in place to one of the right sides of my lining pieces. Then I was ready to stitch the pocket in place. Don't forget to backstitch at the top edge of the pocket so that it's always secure. Here's what the inside pocket looks like when it's all done. Now it's time to reinforce the V that we marked at the top edge of the lining pieces. To do this, I backstitched over the V point, and then I went and added a little bit of fray check just to make sure that this point is going to stay secure. Then I clipped into the V because this will allow us to turn the edge back. Next, I used my serger to finish the top edge of the bag, but you could also pink this edge with pinking shears or use a zigzag stitch. Next, take the 2 pieces of lining and put them with right sides together. That means the pocket will be facing the other side of the lining. Then you can stitch the side seam that goes all the way around from side, across the bottom, and up to the other side. Then use your desired seam finish to finish off that edge. Here's what the lining is looking like so far. Now we're ready to turn back and press the top edge of the lining. Fold back each section of the top edge of the lining about 1/2 inch and give it a good press with the iron to crease. I fray checked and clipped the side seams as well to get them to spread open. This is what the lining looks like with all of those top edges turned back at 1/2 inch. Now it's time for the fun part. Insert your lining into the crochet bag and start pinning it in place. This is what my bag looked like after pinning. Make sure that the lining sets inside of the bag with a little bit of the crochet edge peeking out. Select a thread color that matches the yarn of the main body of the bag and thread a needle. We'll be doing a little bit of hand sewing to finish this project. Anchor your thread to the wrong side of the lining. Then, using a mattress stitch, sew right into the crease of the lining. Then pass the needle into a few threads of the yarn. Continue sewing this stitch all the way around the top edge of the bag. The stitches will be completely invisible because they'll be hidden in the yarn. And now you can carry anything you need. If you follow this tutorial to add a fabric liner to a knit or crochet bag, tag me on social media at Sincerely Sews. I would really love to see any projects that you've made. If you've watched my video so far, I would really appreciate it if you drop me a like and a comment and consider subscribing to my channel. I really appreciate that you hung out with me for a little while today, and as always, thank you so much for watching.